Well, hey, Anita, I was thinking of you this week because I have a couple of friends that are doing some launches, and I thought maybe we could talk this week about launches and technology and those sorts of issues.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great idea. I'm in the middle actually of switching out how I'm doing things for a workshop I'm holding. And suddenly, one little change, and I need five different types of software now to do this and to do that. And it's just getting a bit overwhelming and a bit frustrating. And I know you've got some great stories to tell in this little chat we're going to have. So why don't I let you take it away? And I must say, sorry about the voice. I do have a bad cold. So Matt's going to take over for the majority here, and I will just pipe in when I can.
Great. Well, maybe that's the broader topic, is I'm doing a webinar myself this week, and the same issues are coming up. It's just the technology is taking over, and it's not only taking over my time, but taking over my family's time, because I'm not able to, I have to focus on getting things to work here. But with three colleagues, and I guess that's why it came to mind, because I have three colleagues over the last weeks who are doing launches, and they don't have any time for me, because every time I contact them, they're like, oh, whoa, I'm in the middle of a launch. And we all know what that means, right? You're prepping your videos and your copy and things. But it doesn't matter at what level. There's one guy of the three who he's easily spent $100,000 in contractors, the people he's brought in to write copy, people he's brought in to create the videos, to manage the affiliate system. This is in addition to paying his own team for this. But you talk to members on their team, and they're like, oh yeah, we got to postpone this. We've been at this now for a month. And November doesn't look good either, and you're like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to go on? And I have another friend, it's just her and her husband, but it's the same reaction. Like we're doing a lot. We're in the middle of a launch. They kind of hang that sign on the door, in the middle of a launch, but it goes on for weeks. And I know the feeling, because I did the same thing. I did two major launches myself. One I did myself. I bought the green screens and the lighting and did all the copy and stuff. And the second time, got a little smarter. I brought in a team. And so I had a team, that did the videos and all that. But the weeks and weeks of time, your whole life shuts down, as you know.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So for myself, being sick with this cold here, I think it brings up the whole question around lifestyle and what kind of life do I want to lead? Now, when I was first getting into the online world and digital marketing, I thought that the only way to be able to get my products or services out there were by doing these huge launches. And there's something about being in the trenches with other people, and you're suffering and it's hard. And like you said, it's weeks worth of work, and there's this frustration and that frustration. And it almost feels like almost like a rite of passage in some ways, right? I've gone through this horrendous experience, and we've made it through the other side, and we can celebrate. And it just seemed ridiculous to me that people were devoting, like you said, weeks and months. And then the pressure of when the launch is actually on, late nights and all this other stuff that they're doing, and breakdowns in their system. And to me, it was just like, no, thanks. I really don't want this. I like sleeping at night. I like not being stressed to the max.
You like to have time to talk to your children.
Have time to talk to my kids, maybe not get sick. It's crazy that we think, or we've been told, that this is the only way to successfully launch products or services online. And it's not by any stretch.
Well, this kind of hit home when I did I think it was the second launch I did, because my wife is watching what's going on.
Yeah.
And she's an MBA. She's in the real world. She works for a 100-year-old manufacturing firm, and she's an HR specialist in multiple countries and stuff. So she's firmly grounded in marketing and management outside of online marketing. She's watching me do this, and she's so patient. She's watching this go on. And finally, she just couldn't, after I have like a team of, videographers in there, and we're doing all these, we're outside for like 6 hours in the sun, and, bird noises, how do you cancel these out? And then I got my script here. And she finally says, well, what are you doing? And, I explained, oh, well, this is how you launch a product, obviously. You create all these videos and you write all this copy and you spend weeks and weeks of time with the technology that keeps breaking down, and you put all these pieces together and you bring this team in. And she's like, okay, so, what's the goal? What's the point? I said, well, you watch a video of me and I'll tell my story. And then in the second video, I'll tell you, what the pain and the problem is. And she said, what if I just want to buy it? I said, you can't, because first you have to watch the first video and see, I'm building anticipation because now I'm going to show you a second video. She says, well, can I buy it then? No. You then have to watch the third video. And I'm explaining this. And she just said, that's dumb. I said, yes, it is. But this is how you do it. And it was just this moment of clarity. She was just like, what if I just want to buy it? And I said, that's not in the script. This is not how you do things. But it kind of changes. Like, what if they do just want to buy it? Like, do I really need to do all this? Mm-hmm. And this method that we've all used has been around for 10, 12. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. Everyone's, kind of familiar with it, but what if they do just want to buy it? Is there something that we can not only simplify it for our people who actually want to use the solution that we keep telling them about, but not showing them, but is there something simpler we can do in our lives that we don't have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and all this money on all the technologies and the lighting and the sound quality and the videos and the integrations? And there is, but like you said, it's not as sexy as I'm in the middle of a launch, because that tells people, I'm in the game now.
And I'm serious. I'm serious about what I'm doing, because look at all the effort and money and stress. Like it's got to be serious because I'm putting in all that effort, right? That's kind of what you get in the forums as people are discussing all the challenges that they're having. So no, you don't need it. So what can we do instead? What have you done? And I can talk about some of the stuff I've done as well.
Well, at the same time this is going on, while I'm watching 3 colleagues spend their weeks doing this, I have another fellow that was in my mastermind. I mean, he's been in this game for 35, almost 40 years now, selling, and he's done launches and stuff. But he does what he does now, which is I bring people into like a training video. He does them all live, teaches people a lot of great stuff that they can actually use. Not, hey, I'm going to teach you enough to get you interested to buy this, but here it is. It just teaches them all the stuff they can walk away. And then 30 minutes later, he just says, here's a link. I'd love to talk to you. Book a chat with me.
Yeah.
Or it might be like, go to this form, just answer a couple of questions to see if I got something to teach you. And he does incredibly well. Yeah. Because I think, there's some portion of folks that are just like, I want, I want this thing. First, tell me what it's all about. And then I can kind of see, this sounds, I want to know some more. And then he books a chat with these folks. Now, that wouldn't be a great method if your thing you're selling is like a $49 course or something. Might not be worth your time, but he really wants to help people and help with them directly. And so that's his model. But it just got me thinking about simpler ways of doing things, of not only getting an audience, but having them take that next step with you.
In episode 3 of our little show here, I had mentioned that there was a woman in Australia and she would hold webinars and do the same thing. She would teach content that people could use right away. And if at the end they wanted to take her course, she would just put a little, sign up here button or whatever it was, and people would choose to take her course. She didn't have any of these fancy email retargeting systems and, all those little, like we talked about, all this complexity, all of these different technologies coming in. It was simple. She did a live webinar, taught some really great stuff. If you liked her stuff, you could buy it. you didn't like her stuff and you wanted to come back another time, then it was still there. There was no special discounted price just for that webinar. You could come back at a later date and pick it up then. And what a difference in the approach. Simple, easy, you just present and then there it is, versus excuse me, all this complexity and technology and stress that's just not necessary.
Yeah. And another bit of that is I have a client that I am working with now, and they keep bringing me in to advise on pieces of what they're doing. And I can feel the stress and the pain that they're having, because they're just jumping from one thing to the other, because they're listening to the gurus who are saying, oh, webinars are the way. Oh, online courses are the way. Oh, membership sites are the way. And they keep taking everyone's advice, and they're just doing a little bit of this. So they do, so they write copy for, some part of they'll put a funnel together for this course, and they'll put a funnel together for something else. And I can just see their team is just, and when you ask them about things, it's always like, wow, this had better work, payroll is counting on this. And I'm like, they're where I was, I think 3 years ago, just going from tool to tool, method to method. You're just trying everything. And you look back sometimes, I don't want to look behind me, because when I do, I get stressed out. I think of how many months of my life is gone of just following one thing after another, and it's all like partial things. Oh, I put together this course, or I composed a funnel for this. I gave away a book, free shipping, free book plus shipping. Every device and thing that people try. I've tried a lot of them, and really not much to show for it. Like where I really made an impact, where I've really helped people, is just the one-on-one, got on the phone, talked to somebody, was introduced by somebody else, we got together, we talked by email. Like that's where all the impact has been made, in just the old-fashioned ways. Picked up a phone, used my email, and everything with the tools and the platforms and the zaps and everything. If you added all that together, it doesn't add up to as much, work that I've done and help that I've done for people as just the old-fashioned ways. Yeah.
And frankly, I'm sick of all of that. I'm sick of the hype. I'm sick of the stress. I'm sick of the, formula that you must do this to this to this to this to this, which you talked about when your wife came in and goes, well, what happens if I just want to buy? Well, that's not an option, because you must go through this sequence because I've built all of this out this specific way. It becomes, and I get it. Somebody might be thinking, okay, but I want to scale my business. How am I going to scale my business with one-on-one talking? Well, that's when you can hire people to do that one-on-one chat as well. You don't always have to be the person who does it. And you can have a team that will then have those conversations with people one-on-one. But ultimately, that's what business is about. One person to one person, right? That's what it is. It's connection. And so how stressed I get about it, and how much money I spend, and how many different pieces of technology I have all chatting with each other, it is not a measure of how successful I will be. For me, the success is, how many people did I help? How many people did I give an aha moment to, where they're suddenly seeing something they never saw before, or a piece of that puzzle just clicked for them? I had a chat with a guy. He sent me, I sent a message to him on LinkedIn, and he responded back. It was so funny. I have the trademark, the Queen of Customer Attraction. And he came back to me and he goes, so what makes you the Queen of Customer Attraction? And that's all it was, right? And looking at his picture, I could tell it was, he was being playful about it. So I said, let's get on the phone and chat. We did. An hour and a half later, we had talked about all sorts of things around his business, and I gave him one key piece, just one thing, and it's like it was earth moving for him. It totally shifted his entire perspective. He was thrilled. And that was such a highlight of my day. I have a workshop coming up soon. Like I've sent him the information. It might be for him right now. It might not. It doesn't really matter. But that experience for him, and then to me to be witness to that, was absolutely amazing. I would rather have that any day than sleepless nights and stressed out, not talking to my kids and sorry I can't, go to this function because I'm in the middle of a launch. No thanks. Like I'll turn my back on that any day to have something like I had with this gentleman last week. It was an amazing experience to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a great story. And yeah, you'd want more of those compared to what we spend so much of our time is just solving technical problems. Kids are waiting and you're like, oh, hold on, my Zap's not talking, between here and here. Oh, there's this glitch here. I gotta test my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just puts so much pressure because you've spent all this time now this has got to work. And it just, to me, cascades, because now it's stress. I've put in all this weeks. I've taken time away from my family, from my other commitments, put everything else off to be here. This had better work. People had better buy this because, it comes down to this, that I've made this huge investment and now I have to have this big payoff. And you stop and think and go, wait a minute, what's the whole point? The whole point is to help these folks and see if your solution is something that they need. And, you want to be the self that you are. You're the helpful, person that wants to see if, based on your own experience and knowledge, that you've created something that could help some people. And will this help you? And here it is. It just becomes all or nothing. And that, I think that trickles through when you hear some presentations and in the launches and in these webinars. It just sounds a little desperate, and that's that desperation that's coming through because this had got to work.
Yeah. And I think you hit it exactly. All that frenetic activity, I think masks that fear that this might not work. Right? If you're so busy setting up the copy and the videos and this sequence and that sequence and your email and everything else, your Zaps and everything else that's involved in it, then you don't really have a chance to sit and say, is this something my market really wants?
Yeah.
And that is like one tough question to ask yourself. And I've seen it. I've seen people put launches together for something the market didn't want.
Yeah. And the consequences, beyond yourself, but also with your team. I knew one guy almost a couple of years ago now that was doing just what we're talking about, weeks and weeks, and his whole team. And he said, if this launch doesn't work, people are going to lose their jobs. And,
really?
And it didn't work. Did not get the numbers he wanted. And he laid off. I'm going to guess he probably had like 20 or 25 people on his team and had to let 5 or 6 people go.
Wow.
And you're like, step back from that for a second now. You just bet everybody's livelihoods on this game of the launch. You just bet because you still have your job. Of course, you're probably not taking a salary because you always, pay your employees first. So I'm sure you're suffering financially and your family's suffering as well. But you just bet other people's, livelihoods on your launch, and and the gamble didn't pay off. And it was a glitch. It was like, the things that usually happen. It didn't pay off. They didn't have the money and just had to let some people go. And it made, when he's describing it, it says, oh yeah, that's tough. That's tough business. But that's not business.
No.
That was a game. That was a big bet you just played, and the collateral was your team, and you lost.
Wow. I couldn't imagine what that would be like. And having to we all have to take risks in business, right? Like there's no doubt about it. Just like in life, if you want to meet somebody and partner with them in business and life, whatever, that's a risk you take. Having children, like all of it. But to risk something that big, I could not imagine the pressure that guy would have felt during that time. Like, the one thing I've done in creating not only the businesses I have, but as we're talking about this, Matt, the whole purpose of creating this alternative movement is because I don't want a lifestyle like that. I don't want to be sleepless nights because now if this doesn't work and I've invested this much time and this much money and half my team will be gone, like, whoa, no thanks. I don't want that. I would prefer a kinder, gentler approach to my businesses and forming those relationships and having those sales come through than I would anything like that. No way. No thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, as you said, I mean, we know this happens. You know, I've run in a previous business I had. I mean, there was all sorts of hardships. You know, a client didn't renew their contract. We had a grant proposal that, for, you know, inexplicably got canceled from the federal government. And in both cases, you know, I had to make some personnel decisions. It's like, it's maybe I could have anticipated it. Everybody suffered, but I didn't walk into it consciously and make a bet like that and say, okay, we're going to bet the whole company here on this method called, you know, on doing a launch. And I'm going to experiment. This guy was experimenting. I'm going to try this and this, and we're going to do some other things to really beef up the launch. It's all experimental. We're going to see if this works. And you're like, oh my gosh. And you just bet your team on it and lost.
That is gutsy. Or maybe stupid. I don't know. Depends on how you want to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was gutsy because I was playing along with the game. Oh, wow. Oh, that's a tough break. You really, you know, gave it your all. But now a couple of years later, I'm like, that was just mean.
Yeah.
That was mean.
Yeah.
Because it was not necessary.
No.
He was going for the gold.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was just a long shot. If this works, we're going to make, you know, $3 million. But if it doesn't, then you lose your jobs.
Wow.
You know, and maybe his team was all behind that. They're like, yeah, you know, maybe they were given some big incentives and maybe they were in on the bet. I don't know. You know, maybe I'm misrepresenting that part. But from the outside view, looking back on it a couple of years, I'm like, that was just not very nice.
No, I'm sure, you know, as people are listening to us discuss this, they're having all their own thoughts about either their own launches or ones that they've been a part of going through their heads. And as always, we ask that you chime in, you know, drop some comments below, let us know. Do you prefer that kind of launch method where it's a series and people have to go through all of that and it's intense for weeks to months, and then you have your cart open and several days later your cart closed and there's a big push at the end, sort of your traditional online digital marketing? Or more like we're talking about, where you actually deliver good content rather than just always leaving people hanging till the next video to find out what was, you know, what to close the loop from the video before, right, Matt? Closing the loop. So, you know, or is there a hybrid? Is that it's possible to take some from each and create something else? I'm not sure. I've gone from one direction to the other. I've not created any sort of hybrid. Have you, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be a hybrid, more just, I don't know, I guess taking everything, and I just challenge everything. So with the like doing a launch, I did a couple of those. Both were failures. I don't know if I said that earlier, but both didn't get anywhere near the numbers. So like, you know, and so how do I do something that gets my, you know, face out there, that I can tell my story, but isn't involved with all this technology and things properly and perfectly integrating together? And the same with everything, with online courses, with webinars. Here's what you're told to do. I've said that before, challenge that. You know, so this is how you do a webinar. Bing, bing, here are the steps. Really? Well, those might have been the steps that worked 10 years ago. Is this somebody's online course on how to create webinars that was, you know, that's 10 years old? Challenge that. Here's how you do an online course. And that I really chuckle, because I've been evaluating online courses it was about 1996 was the first time I was evaluating online courses. And back then they were like, here's how you do an online course. Of course, things have changed over the,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah. But just challenge each thing and say, well, how could this be streamlined? How can I do less? How can I put in more time where I should be putting it with might be with your family, it might be with yourself, it might be with others. Just, I don't know, everything. I'm just thinking now about how to streamline, strip things down, get more one-on-one, like you're saying. Social media, we haven't even said the word this entire episode, but that's like the ultimate in, against what I'm talking about here is not one to many, one to unknowns, but how do you get close enough to that one-on-one to be able to see if truly what you have is something that can help people. So no big answers here, just a lot of, thinking about, but I'd love to hear from others who have experimented with both sides. Maybe you're deep into a launch yourself now, or you've conducted a launch, or you're kind of drawn into what that's about. Love to hear your comments, both good and bad. Maybe you can just tell me I'm just full of it. That's fine. Just tell me my launches didn't work because I did it wrong, and here's how you do it right. That's fine. I'd love to hear those comments as well.
Yeah. And I as you were talking, I was thinking that I started a launch and then abandoned it just because it was just getting crazy and I just couldn't keep the pace. And I think the big thing that you touched on with it, and this is mine too, what do I want my life to be like? And if I don't want all that stress, I don't want all the craziness and this push, push, push and intense and heavy, then I have to come up with another way of doing it. And one of the elements that's often used in those big product launches is partnerships with other people. Now, normally they spread the word and all of that, but we can do collaborations when we're launching that are more closely aligned with the audience that we have. Now, I'm not going to get into this. I think that this is a great discussion for another time about these joint venture partnerships and these contests and everything else. I don't even want to get started because let's just say I don't have a positive view of it at all. But there's collaborations you can have, joint ventures that really do fit both audiences versus some of the other stuff we see with other joint venture partnerships. So like I said, not going to get into it, but I think that is one of the best ways. And that's what I'm discovering is the best way to do it. Because like you said, Matt, very quickly it can get you into that one-on-one discussion because you are a good match for the person's audience that you're partnering with.
Yeah, let's talk about that next time. We'll talk about the partnerships, because that's, again, another thing that was taken by, they always say online marketers ruin everything, right? So, and this is another thing where you have something good, like, hey, I have people I know, maybe your stuff can help them, and you have something. I like to share something as simple as that. And now there's these layers and layers and layers, and teaching courses and seminars, and I've seen people do, days-long workshops of how you actually partner with people.
Oh, wow.
Really? I thought this was, I'd like to show your people what I'm doing. And so again, online marketing people just put layers on top and make this so complex. You have to spend so many dollars. You have to buy the affiliate marketing platforms. It just gets crazy. So let's talk about that next time, because I've had experience.
Yeah, I think
I spent a lot of money, and, I'd like to share that as well.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting discussion for sure. So maybe we should wrap it up. Thank you very much for tolerating my voice. Hopefully next week, not hopefully, for sure next week, it will be back to normal. Again, comment below, like, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit that notification bell so that whenever we post another one of these, a chat with Anita and Matt, that you're notified on it. Same with the any other platform you might be listening to. And both Matt and I are available on LinkedIn, so you can reach us there. And any last words, Matt?
I don't think so. I mean, we just, as usual, just came up with this topic a couple of minutes before we pressed record, and so I didn't really have a great closing statement, but I would just love to hear others' stories, both successful and unsuccessful, that they've had with any complexities brought on by these tools and techniques and methods and formulas that we're all taught. Anything that you can say is going to help somebody else along the way who's a little further behind you in their, journey through this online marketing world. So I encourage you to share what you've learned here as well.
That's awesome. Well, thanks very much for listening or watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Goodbye.